Today I'm going to be walking you through one of my elite leg days. I've been doing this system now for the last 2 years. For context, I've been lifting since 2019, and then obviously when COVID happened, had to take a break, had to figure out my own way to get that to, work in my favor. What I used to do is I used to take water bottles from my really toxic job at the time, and I would come in an hour early and I would just work out in their garage area. Worked for the time being, but needless to say, it still got the job done. I feel like I still got results from it and everything. But fast forward now, I've gotten certifications in N1 education, pre-script. I also have my personal trainer certificate, which I still think is BS because they don't exactly teach you how to train for hypertrophy. But essentially how I structure my leg days is, so it depends where you are at. If you are a beginner, I would just suggest doing 2 out of the 3. And if you're more advanced and you could do 3 out of the 3, just make sure you're not doing any cardio alongside. You're not trying to do anything extra because you really need to recover. So I usually work legs twice a week. One of the leg days being a hinge movement and a lunge movement. I'm going to walk you through how that all is going to look. And then my second leg day, I keep it more advanced and kind of crazy. Do a squat, a hinge, and a lunge movement. That's later this week. I'm not going to probably show too much of that, or if I do, it'll be in another leg day log. But today we're just keeping it a hinge and a lunge movement, and we only have 4 exercises. I've been doing this system for the last 3 years now, and I have made incredible progress. It just comes to show that you really don't need to be doing 10 plus exercises. You don't need to do a lot of isolation movements, because when you incorporate compound movements, trust me, you will be begging to be done by the last exercise. So today for the hinge movement, we're gonna do a stiff leg deadlift because I really want to target my hamstrings. For the lunge, I'm doing an elevated front foot lunge on the Smith machine. I prefer the Smith machine because then I notice if I'm trying to work on stability, I can't load as much weight because then I'm focused more on stability. And this just kind of depends what your goals are. If you want to work on stability, then do it with dumbbells, or better yet, a barbell. But if you're someone like me who just wants to grow some juicy legs, then do the Smith machine. My only problem here is that the Smith machine is so popular that I do have to wait my turn. But in a perfect world, my workout would only take an hour. But don't worry, I'm gonna take you through my entire leg day, even the warm-ups, so hang tight. I already took my pre-workout. You already know that I work with Legion. If you are in need of any pre-workouts, protein powders, you can use my code Miriam and you can get a discount. Personally, it's one of my favorite brands just because I trust the ingredients. I love that any ingredient that you don't know what it is, they have research articles linked to it on their website right under the product description, so always know what you're ingesting in your body. 10 out of 10, love this brand. And I'm not just saying it because I'm sponsored. I just genuinely love how when I take the pre-workout, I don't have jitters, I don't feel itchy, I don't get any upset stomach. It's all natural, clean ingredients. But okay, let's go. Obviously need some gym music, so right now I've been feeling Lotto, so that's high on the playlist for this album. Ever since I started working out in the mornings, I do need to pee right away after I take pre-workout, so we did that and then just did a quick outfit fix. So first things first, we're always going to warm up. I don't know if my age is going to show when I say this, but think of warming up like back in the day when you started a car. You had to wait for it to warm up before you could start going. Warming up is kind of like the same idea here. For me, I know my hamstrings are always the weakest, and it's one of the most neglected muscles to ever stretch. And today, since we're doing the stiff leg Romanian deadlifts, have to really make sure that I'm getting them warmed up and stretched out. Now, ideally, we want to focus on dynamic stretching. This is more static, but for me, this is something that helps me a lot. You don't necessarily have to do it, but warming up is really just doing things that make you feel good. Typically, I always just do 3 exercises, so that way it just takes me 5 minutes to really warm up. But sometimes even after I do those movements, I still feel like my back is still kind of tight, or I feel like my
quads need to be stretched out a little more. Since I work out early in the morning, I have to make sure that whatever I'm doing, it's also feeling good for me, but it's also just to stretch out my whole body since I had just been sleeping for like the last 8 hours. So your body's going to be stiff. Really prioritize. I love doing band resistant type of warm-ups because it really does prime you. And I love when I record myself doing this because you can see the quad muscle, and it makes me so excited because if you've been lifting for a while, it takes time to see muscle definition. And if you're not there, don't worry. I promise you will get there, and you are just going to be so addicted to filming yourself and looking at yourself in certain clothes because it's like you could finally see the muscle. But anyway, I digress. These are probably one of my favorite stretches, especially with RDLs. It's a little bit of back work. You really want to make sure that we are loosening up your back and stretching out your hips. And basically, yeah, this is kind of how I go about for my lower day, warm-ups. So diving right in is the RDLs. I usually just warm up, and typically I prefer to use the barbell just because I have a little bit more back engagement with dumbbells. I still love dumbbells, don't get me wrong. You actually get more range of motion here, but because I wanted to work my back as well, but it's okay. Like the gym was a little bit busier than I had expected, so we're just warming up with these quote unquote lightweights, which is crazy because 2 years ago this was like my max weight that I could do. But here I'm just trying to really focus on not keeping, just really making sure to focus on not bending my knees because I'm not trying to bias my glutes. I'm really trying to focus on, keeping my legs as straight as possible, but not so much to the point where there's just no mobility to move. It's really weird to explain, but it's one of those things where you have to just practice on your own to get the hang of it. I was able to work up a top set, but my grip was slipping, so I got like at best 4 reps. But you know what? It's okay because next week it just means I'm going to work on it a little bit better, and the goal is to aim for at least 6 reps, but it's okay. We'll get there. Okay, so next up is like everyone's favorite. It's the hip thrust. I actually don't like hip thrusts at all, but I do notice that my glutes are losing some of its strength, and I really need to focus on isolating it. I prefer to use the barbell, like the free weight barbell, but there's just no space in this gym, so Smith machine it is. And then the other thing I hate is that this place is always so busy. Like, you can't tell, but there's definitely like a line of people waiting to use the Smith machine, so you actually really have to just focus on getting in and getting out. But I prefer the barbell just because there's more range of motion. Here I have to really figure out my footing to get it to where I want to be, but these always hurt no matter what. Like once you get down the form, I'm just not a fan of how it hurts when it comes to hip thrusts. Okay, so next up I have the lunge type of variation. So basically I'm doing a front foot elevated. Normally I would take like the little step up boxes, but the room for the classes was closed because there was an ongoing class, and I'm like, I'm not trying to go in there and disturb a class just to get that. So what works is putting like a stack of plates, and don't worry, they don't slip, it's pretty heavy. But hey, just knowing me, I like to do a little pump check because look at those legs. I worked for this. I worked for this. So I'm going to flaunt it when I can. Because as you can see, it doesn't require using a lot of weight. It just depends on your range of motion and really getting in your focusing on full range of motion. And if you don't know me, I'm kind of like a germaphobe. I need to wipe down all the machines, and this is kind of how it looks like. I even bring my own Clorox wipes. Like we're not going to judge here. But the last exercise is a lying hamstring curl. One thing you got to make sure your hips are down the entire time because it's really easy to lose that stability. You want to go to complete failure as much as you can go, then do the best you can.
We very much finished. Like I said, it was short, it was simple, and it doesn't need to be complicated. I think people have so much worry about not hitting all the muscles. They didn't feel certain muscles working, so therefore they don't want to do that exercise anymore. But there's so much that comes into play There could be just muscle imbalance. There could be muscle weakness. Like for example, if when you're doing a Romanian deadlift, you don't feel it in your glutes, but you feel it a lot in your back and hamstrings. There could be a chance that your glutes are a lot stronger than your hamstrings and back, so therefore that's why you feel it more. So the idea is that you're going to want to keep working at it, keep strengthening those muscles. It doesn't mean that you necessarily got to stop. If anything, that could be the worst thing you could do. But there are so many different reasons why you can't feel a muscle working, and just because you don't feel it working doesn't mean that it's not working. Okay, but anyway, I spend the rest of my day now just getting groceries. I'm at Sprouts actually. I need to pick up bread that I just love. It's like a sourdough, but everything seasoning. So we're gonna get that, and then I also like to get some fruits and all that, but that's like my perfect day is doing leg day and then treating myself to just some healthy groceries. And yeah, so that's all I had for this gym vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. It was my first one, so let me know how I did. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure you leave a like or any comments if you have any questions or anything else you want to see my leg day.